Hello, hello, and welcome to Queen Mother Speaks, live every Wednesday, 5 p.m. Kenya time, 10 a.m. New York time, 7 a.m. California time, and 4 a.m. Hawaii time. Thank you for tuning in to Queen Mother Speaks. I am your host, Queen Mother, also known as Ella Dashanaba King, and we do have in the house today with us. I am so glad and grateful that we have in the house with us, the one and only Nana. Nana, let's get you up on the screen. Here we go. Okay. So now, as you are tuning in today, do know that we are nearing the end of season 11. And boy, has it been quite a season. We
Mhm.
chose a theme for this season to be for the one and only you,
Yes.
any day and every day, for any activity that you choose to do. The only way it's going to happen is that you actually do it. So, what we're saying to you is go back to your New Year's resolution and look at what you decided you wanted to do for this year and re up, revamp, recommit to your one and only resolution for what you want to do for this year. We're getting to the end of June, which makes it the end of the second season of this new year. Once again, I want to thank you for tuning in to Queen Mother Speaks. I am your host, Queen Mother de Nuno the First, also known as Ella Dashanaba King, and we have in the house Nana. Nana, talk to us.
Well, I'd like to welcome all of you to this wonderful episode where we do a tribute to fathers of Queen Mother Speaks. So it's important to us that you go out to Queen Mother Speaks Facebook page, like, share, follow. We're on youtube.com, Queen Mother Speaks. We'd like you to subscribe, like, share, comment. We want to know, who do you want to see on the show? Also on my page, Mrs. Teresa R. Kemp at facebook.com. That's my author's page. I'd like you to go and share, like, and follow. So today, we're very excited to have you here. And we wanted you to know that Queen Mother Speaks. What is Queen Mother Speaks? Well, it's a community platform for wealthy conversations that matter, commentary and insight to raise awareness, inform, inspire, ignite, involve, enlighten, educate, laugh, updates on expatriating to Africa, words of newsworthy events, wisdom from the elders, warm and witty dialogue with Raquiyah, our co-host, and myself, and a boutique of quotes and win inspirational verses. So we want you to sit back, relax, call your friends, let them know that Queen Mother Speaks is on the air. COVID is now spreading again throughout the world. So continue to wash your hands, keep yourself and your family safe, and be alert. You do need to read up on the new variants also. We thank you for tuning in to Queen Mother Speaks today and want you to know this is a safe place. And what's really exciting is this is where my friend who is in Kenya and me, I'm in Columbus, Ohio today. This is where we get to meet and chat and tell you and be friends. This is our friendship channel. So we love you. We want you to stay with us, share with your friends and family today. And back to you, Queen Mother.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that, Nana. From the West Coast, USA, we like to give a thank you to our fans for their early wake up. As we've stated, they have to get up at 7 a.m. to tune in. And grand rising to all of you to watch the show. We really, really do appreciate you. Thank you to Sankia, who tunes in regularly from Hawaii, Ernestine Impingo, Councilman Farrell, Red, Adisa, and Kwashi, who tunes in from no other place than Los Angeles, California. And then up in the San Francisco area, we have Tasha, Nyla, Hakika, and Samantha tuning in. And out of Atlanta, Georgia, we have a host of viewers who love the Queen Mother Speak show and tune in with us regularly. Let me say hello to Lady Mo, hello to Tina, hello to Ernestine. Let me say hello to Michelle. I also want to say hello to Champ over there in Georgia. I don't think he's in Atlanta anymore, but we can find him in Georgia. Thank you for tuning in. Tell me, who's rocking it in your world? Who is it in your world that you would like to see on the Queen Mother Speak Show? Tell us who they are and just send us their name and a contact number and information. Send it to info dot at whoa info dot queenmotherspeaks at gmail.com. Info dot once again info dot at Queen Mother Speaks. Oh, I'm messing that up royally. We'll put it in the chat. We will put it in the chat. Okay. Nana, did we remind them to continue to wash their hands and keep
Yes,
safe?
we did.
All right. So we're going to go to the next one. We've already talked about what Queen Mother Speaks is, right? And so now we're
Yes.
going to go to our meditation for today. We want to take a moment and just say Happy Father's Day to all fathers and father figures in the land. From the Art of Living Institute, we had an online breathing session, which we now incorporate into our meditation moment. What we're going to do right here, right now, we're going to breathe in 3 times through the nose. We're going to breathe in to the count of 6. We're going to hold it to the count of 6, and then we're going to release it to the count of 10. Are we ready?
Yes, we're ready.
Very well. Let's breathe in, hold, and release. Let's try it again. Breathe in slowly to the count of 6. Hold, release. And we'll do it just once more. Okay. Ready? Breathe in, hold, release, and release, release. We've come to learn. Thank you for tuning in with us on the meditation moment. We've come to learn that breathing exercises actually can reduce your stress because it increases your oxygen intake, and that in return reduces the blood pressure. Breathing also slows the heart and it releases tension that's held in the abdomen. And breathing can also benefit your mental state. So concentrate on your breathing and know that it can bring you into the present, into a state of mindfulness. Okay, well, in this moment, we're going to go to our meditation breathing. I'm going to repeat the topic 3 times. You listen with an open heart. I am conditionally grateful. I am unconditionally grateful. I am unconditionally grateful. Gratitude is an attitude adjuster, y'all. Gratitude is a spiritual practice that we choose in order for us to have an attitudinal shift. Unconditional gratitude is a new way of being. Unconditional gratitude is a new way of being. You see, being grateful just because frees us up from attachments to people, attachments to places, and attachment to things. Unconditional gratitude comes from an understanding that there are invisible occurrences that are keeping us alive and functioning. I am grateful for the awareness to be grateful, regardless of what is happening or not happening. I am grateful simply because I choose to be grateful. I live with an attitude of gratefulness. I give praise and gratitude to God who keeps me rooted in the truth that God is all there is. In this moment, God is directing my path. I choose to be grateful. Thank you, faith, in me, through me, as me, through the Christ within, and so it is. This month, this month of June, is known as the month of faith. So all of our readings from for the month of June is dealing with faith. And the
Mhm.
text for today is, this is the day which the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. Psalms
Yes.
118:24. And that comes from Daily Thoughts from the Hillside International Truth Center, Atlanta, Georgia, USA. We thank you for being a part of the meditation moment. This is Queen Mother Speaks. We're in the month of June, which on the ancient Roman calendar is the goddess of marriage and childbirth. And the month of June is still a popular month for weddings.
Hmm.
hmm
And
so, as a natural extension of marriage, Juno was also the goddess of childbirth. Another interpretation of the origins of Junes says that it came from the Latin name juvenis, which means young people. How about that? Okay, some of the birthdays that we're actually celebrating in this month of June would be Harriet Beecher Stowe, who was
yes.
an author and abolitionist. We have Bert Ives, singer and actor.
Mhm.
Gene Berry, who's an actor. Donald Trump, 45th President of the United States, also a real estate executive. Boy George, remember that person? The singer, also born in the month of June. We have Mario Cuomo, the governor of New York.
Yep.
Wayne Jennings, who's a country singer. Ice Cube, the rapper, was also
Mhm.
born in the month of June. Geronimo, who was a Native American Apache leader.
Mhm.
Dean Martin, actor, singer. Also, we have Newt Gingrich, speaker. At one point, he was Speaker of the House. Barry Manilow, singer and songwriter. Do I love his music? Felicia Rashid, actress. Venus Williams, tennis player. Paul McCartney, songwriter and musician. Mo Howard, a comedian. He was Mo in the Three Stooges. Now you had to be born at a certain time in your life to know who the Three Stooges are. So to those though who can relate to the Three Stooges, send us a thumbs up in the chat. Boris Johnson, who's a British Prime Minister. Errol Flynn, an American actor, all born in the month of June. A few more fan mentions for you right now. Sarah and the girls, thank you for tuning in from Dubai. Dr. Willie Butler out of Louisiana, Professor Al Gaskins out of Ohio. We love it when we hear from Brother Chess and Lila out of New York City. Once again, we invite you to hit that like, share, and comment button and take a moment to appreciate our guest who was with us last week, all right, who came into the studio last week. We are so very happy to have had them. We also want to give another shout out to those celebrities who passed away in this month, one being the one and only Tina Turner, another being Harry Belafonte, and the third being Jim Brown, who was a very good friend of mine. May they all rest in peace. Nana, you want to tell us something about fathers?
I sure do. So, whether you have had children, or you mentor, or you're a stepfather, or you're a mother who's being both a father and a mother, no matter what you are today, I wanted to tell you a little bit about Father's Day because it celebrates and honors not just the men, but men and women who have embraced the essential role of fatherhood. And let me go ahead and say also our non-binary friends. On this day, we want to thank fathers and father figures, uncles, grandfathers, stepfathers, and mothers who are both for the sacrifices they make for for embracing the responsibility of nurturing and raising children and for their devotion to their families. So I'm I want you to stay tuned. Let us know in the chat if you have a living father figure. Put the name of your deceased or late fathers and grandfathers in our chat also at this time. I want you to share with us so that we can honor them. The modern version, American version of Father's Day has a history that goes well beyond greeting cards. The first known Father's Day service occurred in Fairmont, West Virginia on July 5th, 1908. And my father is also from West Virginia, Howard Wilson. So after hundreds of men had died in the worst mining accident in U.S. history, the Sunday service happened because of the efforts of Grace Golden Clayton. She was the daughter of a dedicated reverend. While missing her own dad, who had died in 1896, Miss Clayton wanted to honor many fathers who had died and left about 1,000 children fatherless. Although the Fairmont service was first known to honor fathers, it did not turn into an annual event, nor the idea promoted like a large 4th of July celebration. And a
Uh-huh.
tragic young death of typhoid fever took over the news at the time. So, something will happen, but other things outweigh whatever you had planned to do. We've learned here on Queen Mother Speaks, we just have to go with the flow. And things you can't change, you just have to let them go. So from the local celebration to a national holiday, it spread. In spite of support for Father's Day, it didn't become a permanent national holiday for many years. The first bill was introduced in Congress in 1913. But in spite of encouragement from President Woodrow Wilson, it didn't pass. So again, in 1966, Lyndon Johnson issued a proclamation designating the third Sunday in June to honor fathers. Finally, in 1972, President Richard Nixon signed a law declaring that Father's Day would be annually celebrated on the third Sunday in June. And it's been an
All
official
right.
permanent holiday ever since. So, did you all put your fathers or father figures' names in our chat? Let us know. We want to honor them with you. And if you have a birthday, I did write, please put your birthday in our chat box. And we want to honor Raquiyah, our co-host, because it was her birthday this month. My father-in-law, former father-in-law, turned 100 this month. And I have 3
Wow.
that have birthdays this month. Back to you, Queen Mother.
All right. Thank you for that, Nana. And again, when we're celebrating fathers, there are fathers and there are father figures, and we're counting all of them because we know some children were actually raised by the mother who became the mother and the father. We know that some children were raised with help from the neighbors next door or across the street or down the road. We know that some of our youth was raised by men who may have no affiliation with the family, but just men who believe in taking care of our youth, whether they are by blood or not. So I want to say again, happy Father's Day to all the fathers and the father figures in the world. I'm very happy to report that on Father's Day, Queen Mother was with a group that's called the Senior Gathering. And what we did is we gathered on June 18th, which happens to be Father's Day, and we had in our midst 2 men. And these 2 men happen to be special to quite a few of us. One of the men is a one by the name of Mr. Karaoke. Mr. Trying to remember his first name. Karaoke is his first name. He is
Okay.
Mr. Karaoke Thuo. And so I met Mr. Karaoke when I first arrived in Kenya. He's the one they had sent to the airport to pick me. And from that day, more than 10 years ago to this day, Mr. Karaoke and I remain friends. I count on him when I need things done. My girlfriends, when they need things done, we give Mr. Karaoke a call. So he might be what we call in America a handyman. From the lights, not only just putting in bulbs, but if something goes wrong with the electrical unit,
Oh, yes.
all right. I mean, you name it, you name it. And Mr. Karaoke has been there for Queen Mother for all these years, and we take this moment to really thank that brother. We also thank his wife. Mr. Karaoke works at the university. He's a VIP at the university, and he's there probably more than most of us. Okay, and I just want to thank that wife of Mr. Karaoke for allowing him to serve the universe and the world and the community and Queen Mother the way that he does. Thank
Yes.
you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so much. And hello to his children and his grandchildren. May he live. May he live a prosperous life. May he live a healthy life and a happy life. Very
Hmm.
good. All right.
So,
Well, the
Queen Mother,
second gentleman, yes?
oh, I would like to take a moment and honor Dr. John Cranor. When I
Okay.
was in Ghana and was becoming a Queen Mother, I wanted to learn the history of the Fanti people. And
Mm-hmm.
I asked them, I said, can you take me to the oldest historian that you have in the town of Mankasim, traditional
Mm-hmm.
area in the central region of Ghana, where I became a Queen Mother in 2015. So they took me to the house, and let me say the home, not just a house, but a home of Dr. John Cranor. And I was excited to meet him. His house looked like a museum, and he hands me this book that's in Fanti. And I was reflecting back because I found out today that he had passed. And he actually passed
Mm.
in transitioned in March. But I had, because of illness, had not been active on that Facebook page and or messenger and didn't get the message till today. So
Mm.
when I asked him, I said, can you tell me the history of the Fanti or Bantu speaking people? And he said, yes. He said, how long do you have? I said, I'm going to be here 3 months. He said, well, I don't know that I can do it by then, but it was the time of the third Pharaoh. I looked at him and I said, Ramses? He said, yes. He said, well, I'm glad you know who that was. And I'm thinking to myself, you have the history of the people who migrated into Ghana, West Africa, since the time of the third Pharaoh in Egypt. And he began to take me on that journey. And I want to tell each person under the sound who's listening, or if somebody
Mm-hmm.
sends you this video later, take time to get with the elders, sit with the elders in your life and your community, or your community historians, and please videotape them and post it. So many people post stuff that doesn't make a difference, but they hold the key to our past and to a thriving future. So I wanted to give thanks, and I've asked them to send me a photo so I could do a proper tribute to Dr. John Cranor. And if you get the opportunity to read any of his books, please let's keep that name and say the names that keeps them alive. Queen Mother, go ahead. Who else do we have that you wanted to
All
honor?
right. Thank you so much. The next person who I wanted to talk about today in
Mm-hmm.
honor would be none other than the one and only Baba Elimo Injao.
Mm-hmm.
Baba was born in Tanzania, okay, but somehow he wound up himself over here in Kenya. He turned 90 last year in the
Wow.
month of August. He'll be 91 this year, but it was Mr. Karaoke and Baba who we honored on Father's Day, June 18th, here in Nairobi, Kenya. We went to a very exclusive, exquisite restaurant. We were in our own private room. Oh, the room was decorated so beautifully. And that's the way the room is all the time. It's not like they did something special for us. The room is like that all the time. It was very beautiful. People were able to order exactly what they wanted to have. And we had like 3, 4 hours to be for the afternoon luncheon. So we invited seniors who live in Kenya to come out, all right, and enjoy that Sunday afternoon brunch with us. And they did. We had a total of about 12 people who
Mm-hmm.
came to be with us. And they all know Baba because Baba and his wife, Felder, is the founder and co founder of Payapa Art Center right here in Nairobi, Kenya. Payapa happens to be the oldest African American museum, actually the oldest African, if you will, museum in Kenya. And so we were very happy to have him as our special guest, he and his lovely wife. And while we were at this lovely facility, the restaurant, what I found out is that they have a pavilion in on the grounds at the restaurant. So it looks like we'll be able to host some art shows at the pavilion, at the restaurant. So we're very, 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 very excited about that. So here you are, a group of 12 women with these two men on Father's Day, and we enjoyed it so very much. So very much. Okay. Well, there's a lot of other fathers that we can definitely honor, but in particular, it was those two that I wanted to talk about from right here in Kenya. Next week, we'll talk about our own father, right? And other father figures in our life, and some of the chiefs who help us cross over into being a queen mother in Ghana. So, so we're very happy again to be with you today. We're very happy for the fathers. And Nana's going to give us a special tribute, a father as well. Nana?
I sure am. So before I get to that, I wanted to put up our comment. It said, great insight. It's a blessing to be here and listen to you speak words of wisdom and learn. And we appreciate you being in here. And we want to share with you, and we want you to continue to share with us. So thank you for that comment. Well, I have an amazing father, Dr. Howard Lee Wilson. And I say have because even though he's not here, his words and his work live on, not just through me. He was in the United States Army. He was in the fraternity Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity. He was a mentor. He was the deputy chief of police and over the fire department in Columbus, Ohio, when he retired from the United States Army. And a lot of times I have found from my own children that we never get to know our parents or our fathers. And if you ask my children, what did I do before I became a mother? They didn't know that I was born in Germany. They didn't know how I got to Germany because I've always been here. But my father was born in a very small town called Bramwell, West Virginia, in North County. And he was the son of Thomas and Louise Wilson. And I've done his family history back to the 1700s in Pittsylvania County, Virginia. And my father's family is totally different than my mother's family. My mother has this huge family of 17 siblings. So it was very important to me to do this tribute today because my father's family, devout Baptist Christian, stayed with their mate until they died. So it averaged 60 years. His grandmother lived to 105, and she had 100 steps that went up to her house. And he would faithfully park a mile away from her home. We'd come to visit from Germany. We had flown from New York down into West Virginia in Charleston, got a car, and then traveled the rest of the way. And then he'd park a mile away. We'd get out and have to traverse these railroad tracks. Now, I don't know if any of you have ever been to a railroad track, but you have to, they're spaced and they're uneven. And then when we got that mile down to her house, we looked up and it was 100 steps up to her house. And my father would go to her home every day as a child, and she'd send him to the river to get turtles. They would cut rhubarb and they'd make rhubarb pies. He had to tend to cherry trees, apple trees, so many. Hey, Raquiyah, how are you? Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Greetings, everybody.
Greetings.
And happy birthday month to you.
Thank you.
I was just telling them about my father, Howard Wilson. And so what he told me and what was so inspirational to me was things that he didn't have in his life. They had a Sears and Roebuck's catalog from 1899. And they had been ordering things, whatever they wanted in this small town of West Virginia, because there was only one tiny store, like a convenience store today. And he told me that his grandfather had a store, but it got burnt down. So I learned many lessons from my grandfather and great-grandfather, because when he came time for them to rebuild the store, they had saved their money, saved the whole town, put money in, and they traveled far and wide to go get the wood. But while they were doing that, legislation was passed that said you could not build a wooden structure in their downtown, which only had 5 buildings. And they had spent all of the money that the townspeople raised, or the African American community raised, on wood timber to rebuild their store. So they had spent the money. The people would not give the money back and accept the wood back. And my great-grandfather was unable to build or rebuild and open his store. So I have lanterns and some things from that original store that are prized possessions for me, even though they're ordinary household things. His father would let us eat as many popsicles as we wanted, Queen Mother, in the summertime. And I would eat popsicles, and then we'd go downstairs to the basement where he'd build lamps from these popsicle sticks. And they spiral around, and he'd cut them into round shapes and diamond shapes and make these fabulous lamps. And I was sitting watching, we took the lamps for granted, but I was sitting watching Shawshank Redemption. And that is where I heard them talk about what was going on there. But amazingly enough, there was one of the lamps that my great grandfather had made. My father's father, he built a car. He gardened, he had pigs, and he would walk the pigs, and he taught us how to shoot a gun out the kitchen window to shoot rabbits in his house. So when I was discussing where I stood on the National Rifle Association, I was looking back at some pictures, and I saw that my brother, my sister, and I had guns and rifles that we shot. And my brother had a BB gun at 5, and we had real guns that we learned to shoot with my grandfather and my father. So my father went to a tiny school, and he learned to play every instrument. When he played football, he'd stop at halftime, change uniforms, and go direct the marching band, switch back, and then go play football. And one time I found a coin, and it said the Babe Ruth Award for excelling in 3 sports. And that's when I asked my father about sports, because he always put me in different sports since I was 3. And I did 14 sports for the United States and West Germany. And what was amazing about that is my father was great at every sport he did. He would take us to museums. He was an officer in the military. So he had to dress us, Raquiyah, like Sidney Poitier's kids. I had blow up slips. So we'd get up in the morning and you have to blow up crinolines. He would make us polish our patent leather shoes, our purses. We had spats on our shoes, Queen Mother, and our hair was in these big bows. And we have muffs because it was freezing cold in Germany. So my mother's sister, Sarah, would make us, she worked for Singer in Philadelphia, and she'd make us these matching swing plaid coats, plaid leggings, spats for our patent leather shoes, because you had to wear stockings, socks, and then shoes because it would get 20 and 30 degrees. And it never stopped my father. My mother pressed his pants, his underwear. He shined his shoes. He knew that during this time, it was the first time they had officers in the United States military, in the Army. So he had to hold a standard. So every morning we'd have to get up, whether we were on a large military base or in Lawton, Oklahoma, where my brother was born, Dash, and there were only 8 cabins out there. A man would appear out of no place, and he had a bugle, and we would have to stand there, salute the flag, put our hand over the chest while he played taps, and my father would make a statement. My mother got us all up and dressed by 7 a.m. I mean, like we were attending a big parade, and we would stand out there and salute, right? And my father, he would give this speech, and there were probably only 6 people there. And then we'd go back home, have breakfast, and he'd go on to go to work. And when I thought about that, I thought we did all that for this. And yes, that taught me the scripture that God sends you after the one. You can leave the 99 to go open an area, to do groundbreaking, and to do stuff that nobody thinks is relevant, but now there's a big, big place there. And I thought about the fact that when I was there, there were dirt roads and tiny little cabins. When my father, he was the IG, which is the investigator general, we had a helicopter, we had a sedan that we went to school in, but to keep us humble, he let my mother come to school on a bicycle and pick us up. Now, as children, you can imagine how that felt. You usually get in a limousine and go home and get dropped off at school. But
Yeah.
up comes my mother riding on a bicycle, looked at us and said, hop on. Now it's three of us. So she had to make 3 trips back and forth. But it was important to them that they kept us humble. And we knew if we went to see his mother when we came to the United States, probably around, well, every other summer, we were going to have to know the scripture, read the Bible morning and night. We were going to have to play the piano. We were going to have to do the collection. And whatever season it was, if it was Easter, Dosh, we were in an Easter play. Christmas, we were going to be in the Christmas play, whatever it was. And she would go visit the sick with my father, all of us together. They'd go visit the shut-in. We would collect money and make sure that everybody had food. Everybody was warm, so we quilted. She'd make pillows. They made dolls and cook. And what I learned from their family the most is they always had a garden. We'd have to go out to the garden and pick the fruits and vegetables, and she canned, because come September, it snows up to 5 feet, and you had to have your food. You had to hunt and field dress your meat and freeze it, or we would can everything we were going to eat, or they were going to eat, from October until springtime came and more fruits and vegetables could grow because it snowed so hard. But my father would go out and hunt every day. He'd go out and build cars. And he and my father, whatever they caught, they'd hang on my grandmother's clothesline, Dash. And Raquiyah, you can imagine, you go out there to hang up your clothes. They had the Ringer washing machine, and she had the conveniences. They had a telephone and they had a TV, which was the first and probably only family to have that. We lived through tuberculosis. She'd spray you down with Lysol when you came in. And my grandfather was always, coming home from the coal mine with dirty clothes. But he was one of the fortunate ones. As we heard, the miners, 1,000 men were killed. So every day when he left to go to work, we would pray. And every evening when he came home, my father and a whole family, we gathered and thanked God, because as you all learned today, it didn't have to be so. That could have been the last day we saw him.
Yes.
And I'll never forget, I was watching the Mickey Mouse show, and my grandmother would watch her soap operas, and Mickey Mouse came on after The Days of Our Lives, As the World Turns. And I couldn't believe some of those shows are still on. And the Mickey Mouse Club was on. My grandfather came in all dirty, sat down in the chair, Dash, kissed us all on the forehead, told us he loved it, kissed his wife, sat down in the chair, and went to sleep and never woke up.
Oh.
So the lessons that he and my father taught us, they built a tennis court when they wanted to play tennis. They built a basketball court when they wanted to play basketball. None of these things were in the town. They had to make everything they wanted. There were 5 buildings in downtown, railroad tracks, and they lived on a steep mountain. So my father would joke that he believed some of their people's legs were, one leg was longer than the other.
But why was that?
Because the mountain, it's at a slant, and they always walked on the mountain. They walked up and down the mountain. And so you were walking on a slant, and they spoke a whole nother language. So my father would go from proper English into mountain talk, up the hollow. Up the hollow means down the street. And so Raquiyah was really interesting because it's like Ebonics. And when we go to my mother's, they were Gullah. Then we visit people all over the country. And my father's family would switch from proper English into mountain talk. But we learned how to survive. I hunted with him, fished with him, did sports with him, but I learned to be excellent. So Raquiyah, we wanted to hear from you, and you tell us about the father in your life.
Yes.
Unmute your sound.
Unmute.
Hang on just a second.
Unmute.
Let's see if I can help her.
Greetings and salutations to all. Before I share my story,
Okay.
I have a very interesting daughter, extended daughter, that my best friend just passed last September, and she offered to talk about her dad. And then, if there's time, I will share my story. But I think that all of us will be very interested in what you're about to hear. Here
All
is
right.
Nia,
Lay it on us. Lay it
Nia
on us.
Hopper,
Don't I hear
daughter
birds
of
somewhere?
daughter
I
of
hear
Dr.
birds, huh?
Shamari Harper. Nia?
Thank you.
Oh, hi. I wasn't quite prepared for this, but thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. I always love to pay homage to my legacy, and that's my dad and my mom.
Thank
And
you.
unfortunately, they're no longer earthside, but as I'm living, they're still living as well. So I appreciate the opportunity to highlight my father.
Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay, great.
Yes.
very
So
well.
my father is the son of two immigrants, a Trinidadian immigrant as well as a Bayesian immigrant, or for those who don't know, Barbadian. And so he came onto the planet with a set of goals that both his parents had already set in motion before he was even born. And he grew up facing all kinds of racism. My grandparents lived in an all Jewish neighborhood in Brooklyn. And so every day, he actually told me I guess from kindergarten, once he started going to school from kindergarten, he had to fight every single day just to leave just to come home because the Italians and the Jews would jump him. My father was very dark skinned. I don't know if you could tell by my complexion, but my beautiful brown complexion comes from my father as well. And
Very
I
good.
think that his early years in dealing with and having to encounter blatant racism definitely helped to shape who he became and how he raised me. Eventually, he grew up to become a doctor and attended an Ivy League school, Brown University, where he met my mother at Brown University, and he continued to his studies in pre-med and eventually became a practicing physician. His first residency, again, because his whole mission in life was equity for Black people. His first residency was at Harlem Hospital. So he left Brooklyn, went to Ivy League schools, came back and decided that where he wanted to start his career and his career journey was in the midst of where all the blight was, Harlem Hospital. And that gave him an eye-opening experience and allowed for him to understand that not just the medical industry, but most industries in these United States have been created to uproot and destabilize the Black community. And so the way that he raised me and my mother raised me, I went on to go to a HBCU as well. I'm currently
Okay.
a very active community organizer as well. But to just to further my conversation about my father, I don't want to just talk about his career. I want to talk about his foundations and his character.
Yes.
So my father was a nobleman, and he was loved, respected, and highly regarded by pretty much everybody that I know that knew him. He left the planet with no enemies because he was very genuine, and he prided himself on authenticity and truth. And one of the things that he left with me, one of the things that repeats in my mind, we had a conversation once about adversity. And I was amazed because I was complaining to him. I called him. My dad was my best friend, and I called him complaining about something. I'm just like, oh, I'm always going through something. Why can't things just go straight? You know, I'm a planner. I execute well. I'm productive. I'm a hard worker. I'm ethical. Why can't things just go right for once? And my father repeated to me, and it's constantly repeated in my mind, is that adversity builds character. Adversity is something that where you have to rise to the occasion, dig deep, into your soul, tap into your God-given gifts, talents, and resiliency, and make it happen. And that is the way
Wow.
that my father lived his life.
Mm, mm,
He was always rooting for the underdog. And he never considered himself, so much so that he never even considered us or the Black community underdogs, right?
mm.
Because to think that we were underdogs would mean in some way that he didn't see us as formidable, right? But that's the way he saw us. So there was no underdog, right? But even in that, when odds were stacked against us, when things were blatantly wrong in community, when there was someone that needed to speak up for community in a righteous manner, my father was there to do that. And people turned to him, people in the community, people in the village turned to him for that. Um, I believe the third quarter of his life, we moved to Atlanta, Georgia. The first and second quarters of his life, we were in Brooklyn, New York. So the third quarter, my father did a lot of mentoring. He came down here and was a professor at Morehouse Medical School.
Oh, really?
Yes, he was the
Very good.
director of the community health center that Morehouse ran. And he, in the midst of all of that, he also was a mentor and helped to move the mentorship program along in our church, where he mentored young men from the ages of 13 to 18 through a rites of passage program that he helped to innovate and create. So he was always giving back. And I want to add, and one of the things that really allows for me, or actually causes trouble in my life, because I have daddy issues, but it's the opposite, because I actually had a great dad. And so my daddy issues come from a high standard, very, 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 very high, that sometimes, realistically, it may not be met. But my father also, along with him being a community advocate, along with him being a village mentor for young men, along with him being a health and wellness coach, along with him being the authority and the expert on Black medicine, he took care of my mother. So my mother was diagnosed, or was not diagnosed with, but was discovered that she had a physical disability when I was 6 years old. And my father and my mother were able to work through her physical disability, although it was progressive, and she passed away not being able to walk and being in a wheelchair. My father and mother's marriage remained strong, and he continued to take care of her until the day she died. Wow. And that is on top of being a father of three, doing everything he did in the community, showing up, being present, keeping his word. He got my mother dressed every morning. He put on her earrings and made sure she looked nice, right? He put her shoes on, right? So little things like that. And from what I know, he stayed faithful, but we don't judge that, because hell, Martin Luther King didn't. But
men think differently.
So I'm the daughter. I don't know, but from what I could see, everything was copacetic, and so he definitely helped to raise the bar, or set the bar, I should say, for what Black manhood and Black community leadership, kingship, godship is. And he represented that for as long as he took breath on this planet. So I thank you for giving me the opportunity to share his story with you.
Oh, honey, thank you so much for sharing that heartwarming story. Thank
And
you,
I
Rana.
want
Let's
to
get the sister's
piggyback.
name.
I
Let's
want
get
to
her name
piggyback.
and the father's name.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. So my name is Nia Harper, and I am the daughter of Darren Shamari Harper and Janice Tahira Harper.
Daughter of Darren, Darin?
Darren.
Okay, Harper.
Harper,
Harper. Got it.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you so much.
And to piggyback on the story, I lived in Rhode Island, and we were right down the block from Brown University, and they were about 30, 40 African American students. And Brother Ah was their mentor, on the campus, professor of African American studies. Okay. And so I would invite them to my home on Sundays for Sunday dinner, and chop it up day.
Okay.
And that's the day where we would debate all issues pertaining to African American. And so I was fortunate enough, my ex-husband and I, to mentor the students at Brown.
Hmm.
I ran a food co-op. I ran a babysitting co-op. And so when Tahira got pregnant with Nia,
Mm-hmm.
and she thought that she was going to drop out, and I told her without no doubt, I will take care of Nia
Yeah.
till she finished school.
Right.
And thus ensued a long ongoing relationship
Praise God.
that never ended. And as she said, Shamari was a stand-up guy,
Mm-hmm.
straight shooter. He considered me the same, and needless to say, we would stay up start from 7 in the afternoon to 4 in the morning, and we would all go at it. Janice, Shamari,
Wow.
me. Nobody believed it. Nobody would go to sleep until they got their point across. You know what
Right.
I mean?
Yeah.
You know I love a good debate, but
Intellectual sparring.
Okay.
intellectual sparring it is called.
Learning, sharing.
But learning, sharing, enjoying each other's company, eating good food. I like to cook. Janice liked to cook. Shamari liked to cook. Darren,
Right.
Shamari was this. They were the first that introduced me to Kwanzaa
Mm-hmm.
around in the early 80s. We all came from Brooklyn. And so when I would go visit my mom, they had a big Kwanzaa in Prospect Heights at this powerhouse couple house. And Kwanzaa will go from 6 to 6. Kwanzaa. And the discussion was ongoing. We would stop, pause, everybody get their plate, and sit around in a circle again, discussing the principle of the day. And that is where I made my decision. We made the decision that the children will be raised based on the Kwanzaa principles of the Nguzu Saba, and that you needed to give your children something to hold on to. They have to have something to hold on to. But Shamari and Tahira, may they rest in heavenly peace, were my besties, brother and sister, actually. And so I felt compelled to allow um, Nia to share about a great man, Dr. Darren Harper. And so we have very little time left about my dad and my grandfather. But my dad and grandfather were
Well,
entrepreneurs.
Ra, you can do them next week if you like, because we really wanted to hear about the grandfather. So don't
Yeah.
squeeze it into a few minutes. Let's do it
Okay.
next week.
Okay. And so we will pause, but I felt compelled by spirit to give Nia the opportunity to talk about her dad.
Hmm.
And so I hope that everyone is pleased with what they heard. Thank
Hmm.
you, Queen Dashanaba and Queen Nana Adezewa. Thank you. And I'm glad to be back. I'm
Yeah, we're glad to
back.
have you back. We are glad to have you back, my dear. And we want to, well, we know that the birthday actually was on the 12th. And
Yeah.
so perhaps we can take these last few moments of the show today and do our birthday salute to Raquiyah, Nana. You feel like that?
Absolutely. Of course.
Abs- Absolutely. Um, but before we do our thing, please, Ra, tell us what it was like being in Panama. And of course, we're going to do a whole spill on Panama into the show, right? Into some of the other episodes. But tell us what it was like going home and who joined you in Panama? What did it feel like being home again? Talk to us, and then we'll do our song.
And I
I'm
want
going
to,
to just brief. I'm going to just briefly state that my nieces and nephews, several of my sisters and family members
wow.
joined us in Panama to celebrate. I'm not ashamed. My 70th birthday celebration. It was an awesome experience, but it was also a very moving, touching, and emotional experience. And I
Mm-hmm.
will go into it detail for detail, but I felt honored. I was humbled, appreciative, and very grateful that I listened to spirit, listened to my ancestors, and forged forward in spite of all the obstacles that I endeared and came my way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Panama, we need some help, particularly the African colonenses in Cologne. And so that would be a whole huge topic. And what hurt me the most is that from the time that I left in 1966 to the present, things have not changed.
Mm.
Things are in a very bad situation for the blacks in Cologne.
Mm,
Understanding that when Christopher came upon Christopher Columbus
okay.
came upon the Isthmus of Panama, Africans were there free,
Wow.
found us there.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And although they have repeatedly ignored that given fact
Mm-hmm.
and tried to always keep us down, I want you to know that they are resilient, they are determined
Mm-hmm.
to get what is deserved. And so I believe that Panama, the government, punishes the blacks in Cologne because we are the most rebellious. We are the
Oh.
ones that resist. We are the ones that stand up and speak out. And we are the ones that would start the trouble, if you call it that. And because of that, 12 to 15 to 20 million dollars goes through one of the eight wonders of the world, the Panama Canal. I want you to keep that in mind daily. And there's no reason why Cologne should be denied, but it is a form of punishment
Mm.
because they're afraid of the Colonenses. And we'll speak on that at another date. But
Mm-hmm.
overall, my birthday celebration was awesome. The goals that we had in mind were achieved. And I am pleased. As a matter of fact, if I could go back right now, I would, but I will be going back soon.
Okay.
Um, there's a lot of global racism taking place, and I believe that a lot of people have signed on to this so-called memorandum agenda, and we're up against globally. We're up against quite a bit.
Did you hear
It's a
about what
spiritual
happened?
warfare,
Yeah. Did you hear
and
about what
so
happened on Juneteenth here in the United States? 15 different Juneteenth celebrations had mass shootings. So I wanted to also ask our viewers to join us in a moment of silence for all the catastrophes, tragedies. We are having weather events around the world, 100-mile-an-hour winds. They're not even calling tornadoes and things like that.
Mm.
So I wanted to make sure that we let people know who are hurting, who are picking up after storms, who are picking up after loved ones have passed, been shot, and trauma, that you have to let yourself grieve. You have to take care of yourself. You have to hydrate, because grief and trauma are real. So we want you to, even through the week, go ahead and add those events and people you would like us to pray for in our chats at Queen Mother Speaks, at Teresa, Mrs. Teresa R. Kemp, so that we can give you a proper shout out and your loved ones a shout out, and what's going on in your corner of the world today. So Raquiyah, go ahead and continue, because it's so important what you're telling us about.
It sure is. We, however, have reached the 6 o'clock hour, but you go ahead and you can close us out, Rob. Wait a minute, we got to get in that birthday song, or do we want to wait till next week now?
Go ahead. You can get it and we'll continue.
Okay.
It's quite a bit. It's quite a bit.
Well, we can't wait to hear about it.
So what we'll do, Rob, what we'll do is we will create a segment about Panama where you'll have 2 or 3 weeks with a good 20 minutes per show, 20 to 30 minutes per show, to bring us on up to date on what's happening in Panama. But if we're going to do the birthday salute, Nana, I think it's about time now with that young cousin, if she's still around.
She's still around.
Okay.
All right. So we're going to sing Happy Birthday the regular way, and then, of course, we'll end it with the Stevie Wonder way. Is that all right with everybody?
We needed the psalmist to join us, but we want everybody to do the best you can to let her know how much she's loved and appreciated. You two go ahead and scoot together, Raquiyah, so we can see you both. Get close like we know each other. There we go.
You're nice and close.
Yes, if possible. And we see it's a sunny day in Atlanta, Georgia.
There you go. That's it.
So
that gets
for
it.
both of you.
Yes, indeed.
You gonna start us off?
5, 6, let's go.
Happy birthday
to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, my Raquiyah. Happy birthday to you.
Ooh, yes.
Well, you know, we have, for our viewers, we have seconds of delay technically, because she's in Nairobi, Kenya, East Africa, and I'm in America. So there's a 7-hour difference. So we're doing good when we can get it close together.
Yes. And now, to add a little fire on the birthday greeting, 5, 6, let's go. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you.
Hey.
You people in America, you go ahead and sing.
Yes.
It's happening differently.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday
to you.
Happy birthday.
Woo.
All right.
So from our viewer, he wanted to say,
go ahead.
Did I get it up there? Great content today. She loved the stories. And happy birthday to Raquiyah.
Thank you
so much, Lillian, for sharing that with us. And we want you to know we so appreciate you getting together for our girl talk this morning. And not just girls, but Queen Mother Speaks in our show Bunga Dada Bunga, which is going to be on tomorrow. It is 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. It is 7 p.m. East African time. That's at EAT. You see us add to our post. Up, Santana said happiest birthday. And that's not just for Raquiyah. That's for all of you having June birthdays. My 3 daughters and my father-in-law, Raquiyah, he turned 100 years old. He danced and celebrated with over 300 people. So you're by yourself and you get your happy birthday and love.
And my daughter, a shout out to Zadia. her birthday was on the 15th of June. And a shout out
Okay.
to Calvin. His birthday was on the 16th of June. And a
Yes.
shout out to Nasir. His birthday is tomorrow. And a
Ooh.
shout out to Carolina.
Yes.
Her birthday was June 1st. And to all the Geminis globally,
Yes.
blessed, happy
Blessed.
Gemini birthday.
Happy Gemini birthdays.
So now,
Happy Gemini
yes, yes, yes.
birthday. Well, we're going to end the show the way we always do. Nana,
Yes.
something?
Lots of love. Lots of love
All
and
right.
blessings. And in case you don't get a hug and a kiss today, we want to leave you with one, as we always do on Queen Mother Speaks. So take us out, Queen Mother.
All right. With your left hand, let's blow a kiss together. 1, 2, 3, go. Mwah. With your right hand, let's blow out a kiss to the universe together.
Now both hands.
Okay. Now we're going to do the last one. We're going to put both hands together and we're going to share this love in the world. And we know that love is the most healing force in the universe. So today, right now, whatever it is you're dealing with, whatever it is you're going through, receive this love from Queen Mother and the Queen Mother Speaks team. Here we go.
We love you.
All right.
Love you.
This is
Nana, you looking
Queen Mother
fantastic.
Speaks. Thank
Fabulous.
you for tuning in. And
Oh,
we'll see
I
you
don't
again
know.
around
Something's
next
going
week.
on. Something's going on.
Oh, yeah.